It is true that if Iran lives up to its commitments, it will gain access to roughly $56 billion of its own money, revenue frozen overseas by other countries. But the notion that this will be a game changer, with all this money funneled into Iran's pernicious activities, misses the reality of Iran's current situation. Iran's leaders have raised the expectations of their people that sanctions relief will improve their lives. Even a repressive regime like Iran's cannot completely ignore those expectations. And that's why our best analysts expect the bulk of this revenue to go into spending that improves the economy and benefits the lives of the Iranian people.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
Good morning, everyone. The purpose of my portion of the briefing today is to update you and the American people on the actions taken thus far. The briefing will discuss the preparation, the planning, setting the force, the early operations, and how we're assessing the progress thus far. So let's get started. On Saturday, 28 February, at 01:15 Eastern Standard Time, 9:45 a.m. local Tehran time, on the orders of the President of the United States, U.S. Central Command, under the command of United States Navy Admiral Brad Cooper, commenced Operation Epic Fury. As I said, I'm going to walk you through the initial phases of the operation, but first, I want to express my deep condolences and the condolences of the Joint Force to the Department of War personnel killed and wounded in actions thus far.
Yep, right here.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. I had two questions for you. First, are there currently any American boots on the ground in Iran?
No, but we're not going to go into the exercise of what we will or will not do. I think it's one of those fallacies for a long time that this department or presidents or others should tell the American people, this, and our enemies, by the way, here's exactly what we'll do. Here's exactly how long we'll go. Here's exactly how far we'll go. Here's what we're willing to do and not do. It's foolishness. And so President Trump ensures that our enemies understand we'll go as far as we need to go to advance American interests. But we're not dumb about it. You don't have to roll 200,000 people in there and stay for 20 years. We've proven that you can achieve objectives that advance American interests without being foolish about it. Now, will we be bold about it? Are we willing to be decisive about it? Do we put months and months of planning into what kind of effects we want to achieve? Absolutely. But going forward, why in the world would we tell you, the enemy, anybody, what we will or will not do in pursuit of an objective? We fight to win. We fight to achieve the objectives the President of the United States has laid out, and we will do so unapologetically. Thank you. They should.
Secretary Hegseth, and one for Chairman Kane as well. I understand, to your point here, that you don't want to broadcast everything for our adversaries to hear, but the American people also want to know what they're sending their men and women to war for. Is there a concern of this spiraling into a longer war? And then one for the chairman when you're done.
Did you not hear my remarks? I mean, we're ensuring the mission gets accomplished, but we are very clear-eyed, as the president has been, unlike other presidents, about the foolish policies of the past that recklessly pulled us in to things that were not tethered to actual clear objectives. So we know, we have plans, we have generals, we have chairmen, we have commanders, CENTCOM commanders, Admiral Cooper.
Well, the first thing to understand is why it's necessary at any time. Iran, for 47 years, has been chanting death to America, death to Israel too. But you're the big Satan, we're the small Satan.
Prime Minister, I think history will study this military effort, and it'll be, as I said, be studied for centuries. But, you know, also you took out their air defense systems, their missile defense system, ballistic missile systems. You know, you got the 10 top guys in Hamas. You got Nasrallah, who'd been in power for 30 some odd years. You had the pager incident. Donald Trump dropped 14 bunker buster bombs and took out and obliterated their nuclear facilities. I mean, I know there's war colleges. Just all of these incidents combined will be a lifetime worth of study, in my view. And I want to ask you this, you know, there are people that say, well, the Prime Minister of Israel dragged Donald Trump into it. And as somebody that's been friends with him over 30 years, nobody drags Donald Trump into anything, number one, but I want to get your reaction to that.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
He continued to say, we knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we'd suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher than those killed. So let me just say, then the enemy is Israel. The enemy is Israel. If you're worried about Israel launching an attack, which would then make American soldiers in the region vulnerable to Iran's attacks, then Israel is not an ally. But he would never say that, of course.
Yeah, there was two admissions there. So first is, so Israel did push us into the war.
Of course.
You said, well, Israel was gonna attack, so we didn't have a choice. Well, here's a choice. Hey, Israel, we've given you $330 billion. If you attack without getting our permission, you won't get a single more dollar, and we will not help your attack. Who's the boss of who? Because if you just listen to Marco Rubio there, you would think that Israel is the much larger nation. We're the tiny little nation, and we got to listen to them because they're so powerful. Well, if Israel was going to go, then we were forced to go. Why? He just admitted we have no control over Israel, and they have complete control over us. But the second part is even worse. Did Israel use that as leverage against us? Hey, we could go without you, and if we do, then your guys will be caught off guard and a lot more Americans will die. So you better attack when we tell you. That's what it sounded like he said.
That's exactly, but that's what happened, Cenk. That's what happened. These are not our allies, okay?
That's not an ally, man.
They use and abuse, they don't care about our lives, they don't care about our soldiers' lives. They suck the life out of this country. And now they're looking to India to see if they could suck the life out of that country. It looks like Narendra Modi opening up his legs to Israel. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That can't happen soon enough, by the way. Okay, I would love to have Israel off our backs because they are destroying our country. They dragged us into previous conflicts and wars that we should have not been involved in at all. And now we're sucked into this war, which has escalated. It's become a regional war.